Welcome. Scott here. I will be covering on upcoming Lost Chapter, Sloppy Provisioner, which will features Jessie from Final Fantasy VII. The event synergy units are Jessie, Barret, Noctis, Snow, Sazh, Kurasame. Jessie BT and Snow FR will be making their debut. Both will be getting their reworks and FR boards. All featured units will be getting their force enhancements level 50 unlocked. We will be fighting 3 Gehpanzer, which has 240 million HP each. The turn requirement is 50. The HP requirements is 12,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Like most other Shinryu fights, the boss gains increased brave damage and gain resistances at start of the fight and 79% HP threshold. Bringing a support like Lunafreya, Charlotta, Aerith, Ramza, Yuna, Pernello, Queen, Rosa, Deuce, Ignis, Leonora, Sarah, or Selpha that grants damage boosting aura will make your fight easier. As the boss gains substantial boost to their defenses with the auras, it is important to inflict debuffs that lower their defenses. On the screen I have listed down the key utility that you can consider when forming your party for this fight. After a long series of events of no boss mechanics, we have finally had a fight that features some mechanics. In fact, the fight features some additional mechanics upon to the original mechanics during Jessie's event. The boss could warp their turn forward when its HP dropped to 89%, 49%, and 29% HP threshold. Make sure that your party has some form of mitigation, off-turn damage, turn disable option to handle the warp mechanics. Lock tanks like Snow, Warrior of Light, Zack, or Celis are useful here. The usual counter specialist is very useful here as well. Beatrix, Orin, Core, Ruby Conte, Gladio, Glove, or trap debuffers like Ace, Maria, Quina, Minwu are also viable options. The boss force ability is a non-attacking ability when it gains a massive amount of brave. Make sure you don't let it take a turn when its force time turn is left with 1, otherwise it will use Charge Ray Plus, which will wipe out your party. To handle that, you can either let the boss take turns but having their turn disabled with units like Cloud, Celtius, Jilnabate, Fusoyat, Camlanod, Shantato. For HP silence mechanics like Pain, make sure that the boss is in the HP attack rotation so you can lock them down perpetually. The other way is to cancel the boss force time with either using a ranged FR or Ice Enchant FR. For ranged FR, you can consider Jessie, Yuffie, Noctis, Arania, Laguna, Fujin, Lena, or Sisnei, who will be coming in the next banner. For Ice FR, you can consider Kurasame, Snow, Lunafreya, or Cater. Non-echo options like Onion Knight or Celis also works. Do note that enchanting a non-elemental FR with Ice Enchant also works here. If you have means to shut down the boss warp mechanics and controlling their brave, you shouldn't have any difficulty in handling this fight. You can also do the standard rush down team comp of launch, delay, and follow-up attacks. It is also worth noting that this fight features Crystal Sparkles time limited mission, which will get you additional 750 Crystal Sparkles with a crystal color based team comp. For example, if you finish the fight with Green Crystal Party involving Snow or Yellow Crystal Party involving Jessie, you can meet the Crystal Sparkles time limited mission. As we are no longer have Lufania Plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. If you don't bring any force chargers, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. Throughout the fight, the boss will also gain 4% charge rate up when your party members act. When the force gauge is between 10% to 50%, it will gain brave resistances against all weapon types by 30%. When the force gauge is equal or greater than 30%, it will further reduce your party attack by 100%. When the force gauge is equal or greater than 50%, it will increase the weapon type resistances to 50%. When the force gauge is equal or greater than 70%, it will gain speed up by 50%. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. At the 100% threshold, the main boss will use its force ability, Vertical Missile Plus. The boss force ability, Vertical Missile Plus, will result the boss to cleanses all debuffs for boss A, raise its max brave cap and gains brave for the boss party that equates to 200% of its current max brave. It will follow by an AoE brave attack. Upon using the force ability, the boss will enter into its force time where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with a counter of 4 on its gauge. When the force time is activated, the boss will gain the following enhancements. A. Party heals HP by 80% of HP damage received. Effectively all the attacks you dealt to the boss will be reduced to 20%. B. The boss will further increase its brave resistance by 70%. C. When the force time is at 1, the boss will use Charge Ray Plus, which instantly dispel all buffs and KO the target. To cancel the boss force time, you need to deal its force weakness, which is using a ranged FR or Ice Enchant FR. For ranged FR, you can consider Jessie, Noctis, Arania, Laguna, and Fujin. For Ice FR, you can consider Snow, Kurasame, Lunafreya, Kater, Celis. Do note that enchant a non-elemental FR with Ice also works to cancel the force time. Due to the KO attacks that it has from its force time, it is best not let the boss activate its force time unless you have means to cancel it or disable their turns. You can disable their turns the boss force time with turn disable utility like using paralysis, confusion, or other turn disable mechanics like daze and let them take 4 turns. In fact, you can use Arsila base call to meet this criteria, but do apply the call after the boss cleanses to buff off boss A when it uses the force ability. Now let's go through the fight key mechanics. The boss has 2 basic attacks and rotate between the 2 attacks. Maneuverable Destruction is a single target brave attack and grants itself 50% attack up for 5 turns. Charge Ray is reset break status, single target ranged guaranteed hit brave plus HP attack. It will also inflict a 30% speed down for 5 turns. If you cannot reduce the boss brave sufficiently, it will most probably be constantly spamming this attack. When the boss HP thresholds drop to 89%, 49%, and 29%, the boss will trigger cut in turn order where they move their turn forward. The warp mechanic will not trigger during your burst or summon phase but will trigger immediately after you exit those phases. If you deploy a hit and counter strategy involving the usual off-turn team comps with Almighty Ruby Conte and Kelger, off-turn attackers such as Beatrix or COR, and the cover tanks such as Orin, Gladio, and Golov, you can also use the turn disable strategy to prevent the boss act and turning them to punching bags for an easy victory. Alternatively, you can use the standard rush down team comp with launch, delay, and follow-up attackers. It is important to note that the fight features a Crystal Sparkles time-limited mission. To get the reward, you need to clear the Shinryu stage with Crystal Color theme comp. You can do it with the usual solo champions such as Ruby Conte or Kelger, or deploy a green or yellow Crystal Quest trio to complete the requirements. To check whether you have cleared the requirements, please check the event tab in your missions menu. With the boss mechanics explained, let us proceed to featured FR burst units. Before I end the guide, let's start off with the returning Snow. Snow has gained a big damage upgrade on his Retribution Plus where it will have 9 HP dumps. To access Retribution Plus, his LD buff Vendetta stacks must reach 2 stacks. Because of this mechanic, Snow is now constantly offers good damage and he also a good auto plus farmer. Snow BT is also good for abusing Snowverflow effect. Unfortunately, due to Shinryu cap restraint, we cannot longer abuse this for Shinryu fight since Pandemonium Spiritus event. However, we can still exploit the mechanic in the upcoming Memorial Battle fights. Snow FR is an AoE melee brave plus HP attack and grants the party 30% HP damage resist. His force conditions are: use an ice ability will get you 40% HP damage bonus. Snow provides ice enchant to himself with his LD and ice enchant with his BT aura active. If you don't have his BT unit, you need to bring another ice enchanter or using Kurasame LDCA to meet the condition. Having a active stage based buff or special effect buff will get 20% HP damage bonus. Pair Snow with stacked buff units or unit with overhead buff. Absorb brave or reduce damage taken will get 20% HP damage bonus. Snow has tremendous brave damage reduction effects via his steel guard, which grants lock debuffs that lock the targets to Snow. Generally, this is a very restrictive FR that will probably be better used as an FR Echo unless you want to bring Snow to solo a Shinryu fight. Let me cover a bit on his BT aura. The BT aura lasts for 8 turns. Like most BT auras, it will grant some standard party auras. It will raise the party brave damage plus 50%, brave damage cap plus 50%, and max brave cap by 30%. Snow BT also offers party ice enchant. The BT offers a unique brave gain mechanic. Your party will gain brave by 50% HP damage dealt per attack. Due to this mechanic, you can abuse it with Snowverflow setup, which involving using non-Lufania or your C90 armor and lots of max brave up auras. Shinryu boss fights released after Pandemonium Spiritus have max brave cap limit, which effectively kills off this strategy. However, Snowverflow still works for memorial fight battles. Now let us cover the event leading performer, Jessie. Generally, Jessie is a ranged attacker who has a lot of turn manipulation and delaying mechanics. She can be fun to play if doing boss no turn strategy is your style of playing the game. Her LDCA is a very underrated call and offers great utility for setting up rush down team comps. With her rework, she gets some minor upgrade to her abilities and more HP dumps. It is worth noting that Jessie auras are limited and she is more useful for her delay and turn manipulation utility. Her FR is an AoE ranged brave plus HP and delays all targets by 2 turns. Now let's briefly go through her force condition. 1. Use a ranged ability will grants you 20% HP damage bonus. Form a party of ranged attackers with Jessie. 2. Move ally turn or delay enemy turn will grant you 20% HP damage bonus. Other than Jessie, ranged units that delay the target are Cypher, Cloud, Setzer, Arania, Dark Knight Cecil, Fujin, Kane, Sid Highwind, and Kais. For turn manipulation, you can consider using Sid Reigns, Rem, Afma, Ignis, or Onion Knight. 3. You will get 40% HP damage bonus when the unit's previous turn is an ally turn. In general, it is an attacking FR that benefit boss no turn strategy. However, the force time build-up will be hampered when facing bosses that are immune to delay or have warp base mechanics. Using a ranged attacker that delays will most likely meet the full HP damage conditions. As an FR Echo, this FR provide nice turn manipulation with her delays. Her BT is an AoE ranged brave plus HP attack. The BT aura lasts for 8 turns. Like most BT auras, it will grant some standard party auras. It will raise the party brave damage plus 50%, brave damage cap plus 50%, HP damage up 20%, and max brave cap by 30%. Upon activating her BT, Jessie gains a field effect buff, mounted explosive device. While her BT aura is active, her HP command will change, HP, mounted explosive device. The values of mounted explosive device are based on the amount of brave damage that the party dealt up to 500% of Jessie's max brave cap. In other words, you deal more brave damage the higher the value will be. The HP command mounted explosive device will allow Jessie to select an ally, consumes 100% of the stored value and deals AoE HP damage that equates to 3 times of the stored value while delaying all target turns by 2 turns. It will also extend Jessie buffs by a turn. Upon using the attack, the value will be reset back to 0 after use. This ability is very useful against certain mechanics like HP shields type mechanics. Depends on how much value you can stored, Jessie can deal out tremendous amount of damage with her explosives. During her burst phase, use it only when the values are red for maximum effect. If you want more information on how to play Jessie or Snow, do pay a visit to the Tonberry Troop website to understand more on the character's kit. With this, I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight in the coming days. Bye.